but yet that person can say behind the scenes, they don't know that I have more debt than I do what's actually coming in, but I'm keeping up appearances. And I literally am getting sick to my stomach every night because I don't know what to do with this. That's the stuff people go through.
What's up, listeners? Welcome to another episode of Light Beyond Limits, where we talk about the breakthroughs and stories that people have with their limitations and the lessons that they learn from it. I'm your host, Coach Willie Blake, today, and I am so excited to just bring this powerhouse and this resilient person onto the podcast today. Let me share a little bit about her. Alethea Felton, a professional speaker, transformation specialist, and host of the top 3% ranked Power Transformation podcast. Alethea has spent over 2 decades helping high achieving leaders navigate their complex journey of identity level change. Her unique frameworks are forged from both professional expertise, ranging from national board certification to holistic health coaching, and a profound well of light. Goodness gracious. She has a lot of experience,
Yes,
y'all. She is freaking awesome. She's resilient. She
yes.
specializes with entrepreneurs, does all that stuff. We're keeping
Get
this
rid of
in. We
that.
are not hiding it.
Yeah.
She's awesome. Alethea, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Willie. I love you, my brother. Get rid of all. Yes, it's nice to be formal and all that, but just get rid of that. I'm going to tell you about who I am anyway. All of those technical things, people can Google it, look it up. It doesn't matter. I'm just
Yeah.
honored to be here with you and your audience today. Thank you.
Oh, the pleasure's ours. And like you're right there. Like I wanted to highlight you so well. And the best way is from the bios that you send, right? But being able to just really just speak from the heart, which is just, man, you're,
Hmm.
you're an awesome one. You're an awesome person, just doing what you're doing. So share with the audience, who are you and what is your story?
Thank you so much, Willie. Yes, as I said, the titles, the certifications, sure, those are great accomplishments. But if we strip all of that away from every person on the planet, who are we at the core of who we are and the work that we do? So I am Alethea Felton, and I am a lover of life. I just enjoy life. I am adventurous and curious. I love nature at the core of who I am. I could be in nature all day long. I grew up by the waters on the east coast of southeastern Virginia. So I grew up by the ocean, and I absolutely am a mermaid enthusiast. You can't tell me that mermaids and mer people don't exist. They really do, somewhere deep, deep down in the parts of the ocean that we could never reach. But that is who I am, is that I am the person who is the eternal optimist who sees the glass as just not half full, but overflowing. That has been the story of my life and the work that I do. And, we have our niche statements as entrepreneurs, but I'm a professional speaker, a transformation specialist, and a podcaster. And what I do is I help to serve those who are in leadership. So, from entrepreneurs to those on executive team leadership, school leaderships, anyone in a leadership role, whether you're leading in your home, career, or business, I help them transform personal challenges into renewed direction and reinvented identity so that they thrive in a life that fits where they are now. As leaders, we often carry the weight of the world on our shoulders. We have so many responsibilities and more than what meets the eye. And with that being said, people don't know our silent battles, the everyday human challenges that we have. And I'm not a therapist, and the difference is, as a certified coach or transformation specialist specifically, I help people where they are in the present aim toward their future goals. Now, Willie, don't get me wrong. If I have someone that comes to me and wanting to work with me, if I think that they need a little more help, trust and believe I will send them to a therapist. But
Yeah.
that is the professional work that I do. And it comes and is grounded in my story of being a girl who was born with autoimmune illness. And I am very open about it. I'm not ashamed of it. A lot of people walk around with invisible illnesses, millions of people, men and women alike globally. And people see us externally and say, well, you don't look sick, which is one of the most insensitive things people can say. But I don't wear sickness as a badge of honor. I don't even consider myself that way because we all go through challenges. But I am diagnosed with Crohn's disease, which is a gastrointestinal condition, and also a very rare liver condition called primary sclerosing cholangitis, PSC, which is the gradual hardening of the bile ducts, and it affects the liver, can lead to, doesn't always, but can lead to liver failure, which would then lead to possible transplant or ultimate death or transitioning. But I am 44, I'll be 45 in August. Some past doctors said I wouldn't live to see 30, and I'm thriving. There have been experiences in my life, Willie, where I almost transitioned into hospice back in 2012. I was so sick. I've been critical in ICU. I planned my whole funeral. But even in that, I never was afraid of that. I know that that may sound interesting, but I've always had a strong faith. I'm a follower of Jesus Christ, and I've had three documented near death experiences where I have
Wow.
experienced um, seeing and talking with beings, angelic beings in the supernatural realm that I know for a fact, Willie, were not dreams. They were real experiences, just as real as I'm talking to you, just as real as I'm touching this table here in front of me. And those were life-changing experiences. I had my first at 16, had two more in my 30s. And those really shifted my perspective on a lot of things. And so, what I did in closing and wrapping up this part, I had a 20-year career as a public school educator. And I use the word educator because, and it's no shade to classroom teachers, but I did more than just classroom teaching. I taught English and Spanish, and then I went into school leadership, and I ended my career in human resources. And so for 20 years, I was working in some major districts on the East Coast, loved my career, and I was doing part-time entrepreneurship behind the scenes. So I did catering in my 20s until I had a really bad Crohn's flare, had to stop. And I wanted to learn more about the whole person in health. So I became a certified health coach, holistic health coach, mind, body, and spirit, and certified life coach. And I started to do that work. And then during the pandemic, I put a pause on some of my entrepreneurial ventures at the beginning of it because I felt this growth and this shifting. And I would have people to come to me, Willie, and would say, because of you telling me X, Y, and Z in the past, I made an album or I wrote a book or I switched jobs. This became a pattern. And I had to say, whoa, whoa, whoa. What did I say? Because I didn't remember. And I'm saying you did this off of what I told you. And oftentimes it was from people that visited me in my times of sickness. And what I shared with them really transformed their lives. And I started writing down and I saw patterns. And I said, wow, I could really help people more in this area. So, with the autoimmune, that was a part of me. And technically, I'm still diagnosed, but I haven't been hospitalized since 2019. I choose to thrive. I choose to see my glass, as I said, as half full to overflowing. I experienced grief with two of my best friends, died in 2017 and 2019 of cancer at young ages. And the tables were turned because they were with me in my most critical times. And to see them experience what they did, they actually gave life to me as they were exiting this earth. And who I am now, I wouldn't be off of them. And I think, Willie, one of the most ironic things of my journey is as a child, I was a severe stutterer. And even as an adult, I still trip over a lot of words when I'm talking with people that I'm close to.
I'm
I
with
am,
you.
yeah. And so I am a stutterer, but I've always used my voice in speaking, whether it was in theater, growing up as a child, that was a speech technique, speech therapy, but also as a professional speaker. And I always like to clarify for people whenever they hear me, I make it clear that this isn't toxic positivity. I acknowledge that life can be hard and is can just be ugh at times. But at the end of the day, I have so much for which to be thankful. So that's a snippet that I'm a full-time entrepreneur now, left my career when I was still on top. That was a prompting by Holy Spirit, or if people don't have that type of a faith, they can say intuition or instinct. I planned for the transition and I did it. And 4 months after I made that leap, Willie, my father got sick and he is diagnosed with stage 4 cancer and dementia. So I'm also a caregiver now. So all of my experiences have led me to who I am now and where I am created to be. And I'm an open book. So I have nothing to be ashamed of. I'm very thankful and I wouldn't trade my life for anything. And so I help people who are in those roles because I've worked in those leadership roles and I'm still leading even in my business. I know how to help you navigate, but also thrive and continue achieving, even when it seems like the world is caving in on you. There is no excuse.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. There is there's so much to unpack. First and foremost, you're freaking awesome.
Oh,
Everybody knows that now. I knew that before. And just wow, there's so much to go to. I'd love to go into the mindset of it first.
hmm
Because like the word mindset comes from the way that the set things that our mind thinks. And so you have such this gratitude look on life, this such ability to think of things as good and think of things as, even though they're challenging, can still be made into something that
hmm
is useful. Have you always thought that way?
Yes. Yes.
Cool.
hmm And the history of it, when I talk about my father, and as I said, so both of my parents are still living. They're in their 70s. They'll be married in October, 49 years.
Ah,
And
cool.
yeah, they'll be married that long. But my dad, he was a pastor, but also he was a psychiatric counselor and he trained and helped a lot of people, very well respected in his field when he was active. He doesn't have Alzheimer's, so of course he still knows who I am, things like that. But now dealing with chemo and the dementia, he has chemo brain on top of that, so he forgets a lot and he'll ask the same questions. But I bring up my father, Willie, because he was once what I call the sharpest tool in the kit. He was the one everybody went to for help, support, whether it was cousins, family, friends, my own friends. And Daddy always had this sage wisdom. And although he was a pastor, my sister and I weren't those stereotypical preacher kids because our parents talked and communicated. And for people who don't know what that means, there's a stereotype that pastors' kids are wild, rambunctious, rebellious. We weren't like that because our parents talked to us and communicated with us at young ages, and no questions were off limits. So, getting to your question, I remember vividly as a little girl, and I'm from down south in the southeastern VA, as I told you, right by the North Carolina line. When we had summer rainstorms, when I was little, I'm talking probably 4 or 5 years old, probably four. The first home we lived in had a screen door, one of those old school screen doors. And daddy would open up the front door during a rainstorm or a thunderstorm. And he would pick me up and we would look out of the screen door at the thunder and the rain. And he taught me to not be afraid of it. And what he said to me, especially during those daytime storms, he said, "You see how it's cloudy and the rain's pouring?" And I say, "Yes, Daddy." He would literally tell me when I was 4 years old, the sun is still behind those clouds. So although it's rainy and it's stormy and it can seem scary, the sun is still there. And do you know why we have rain? No, Daddy, I don't know. Because without the rain, then you couldn't have the flowers and the grass and all of the beauty on the earth. My daddy, when I was 4 years old, Willie, he would then say, in life, as you get older, certain things are going to happen to you as a grown up that will be like that rainstorm. It might not make sense now, but I want you to always know that the sun always shines. Not kidding you. He told me that at 4. And it didn't quite make sense then, of course. I was kind of putting it together, but that stuck with me. So as I grew older, because even with my health, I didn't know as a kid that I had these health challenges because my parents, as parents, it was their responsibility to make sure I still had normalcy. So I still went to school, had friends, did all of the kid things. But once I got to be an adult, life, especially with my health, hit hard. And that's when I had to choose. Despite the obstacles that came my way, there was always hope. There was always joy. I could choose to wallow in my suffering, and sometimes I did, but I gave myself a limit because if I kept going down that rabbit hole of woe is me, this is terrible, this isn't right, that would have kept me stuck. And so that is how my mindset has always been. And as human beings, this is a part of my coaching and my nerd part. We know that as humans, we do have more negative thoughts and repetitive thoughts than positive. That's a scientific fact. But we can choose to retrain how we think about our circumstance and our situation. Because even now in my life, life is challenging. It might not be with my health, but it's challenging and it can be hard. But I can choose to take a breath and I can choose to say, I've come this far and I know I can get through it. We walk through our challenges, Willie. We don't stay stuck in them. So, yeah, that's how I've always been. And it's from my father, who the tragic irony of sorts is even when I told him that, he doesn't really remember telling me that, but he knows that he did when I tell him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I'm thinking about because I have four girls,
Hmm.
and my oldest is 6, and then the second one's 4. And I'm just thinking about my second oldest, me like standing outside, and it's about to rain in the next day or two, just like standing out there and having that same thought. But me in my head, I'm thinking of my 2 year old, ain't no way my not 2 year old, my 4 year old, that ain't no way she's going to remember anything that I say today. But that
Mm.
just goes to show you that it doesn't have to make sense, but they can remember.
Hmm.
Now I'm thinking in my head, I'm just like, man, I better watch what I'm saying to
Oh,
my kids that are
yeah.
going on.
Hmm. And with girls, especially girls who have good fathers, we remember. And my father was a good father. I mean, a great father. He and my mom always made an awesome parenting team. But I'm telling you firsthand, as a 44-year-old woman, that happened 40 years ago. And all these experiences with my daddy still stick out so vividly. We remember, especially girls, when it comes to our fathers. Hmm.
Ah, okay. That puts a little pressure on me now, thinking about my little girls. I love that. Now,
Hmm.
the people who are going through the challenges that they're going through, and
Hmm.
it can be physical, mental, emotional, financial, whatever
Hmm.
the challenge is, they feel like they don't have control. They feel like everything is outside of them and they don't have the power to choose. So I know you just were talking about breathing and choosing. So I want to
Hmm.
ask you, if someone is going through a challenge, whatever it may be, what would be the first thing that you would talk to them about?
That first thing, and I won't go more in depth since I did say it, but literally just breathe. That is the first step. Breathe. Take a deliberate, deep breath in and out. Breathing does something. Just breathe. And I have to tell myself at times, just breathe. And whether I'm working with men or women, just taking time to one of those deep breaths works. It refreshes your entire body. It brings oxygen into the brain, and you can think a bit clearer. That is the very first step is to literally breathe. And then from there, what I would say, and it really depends on the situation because clients I've had over the years and people that I've met and interacted with, until you're in somebody else's shoes, I can't just say, oh, this is a quick fix. No, this takes practice and takes time. So, in the immediate, you can breathe. And also, what you can do is not ignore what's happening, but then I tell a person, do a practical step to just try to do something distracting that's not going to harm yourself. So if that means you got to turn on a television, if that means you have to go out and walk, if it means you have to have a good cry, that is a first step in how to really get your mind off temporarily of the crisis. Because if we stay in that one spot, it'll consume us. So it sounds very simple and it's meant to be because the harder work can't come until you accomplish the simple things. And it's
Mm,
not easy.
yeah, just
Mhm.
breathe. Do you have a
Mhm.
specific example to help us visualize this from either a past client or an experience that you've had yourself?
In terms of a
And
strategic way to breathe.
yeah, just like you're in the moment. It could
Mhm.
be high intensity or it's just like something's happening and you just got to breathe.
Gotcha.
Maybe there's a
Yes.
trigger to help you remember it.
Mhm.
If you could just like take us through an example of that.
Yes, certainly. So say if I'll say if you're walking or if you're in a standing position. If you are standing and you are somewhere around and it's as if the world is about to cave in, if you can get close to a wall, if there's a chair nearby, or if in total desperation, you have no choice but to just fall down safely and just sit on that floor or something, first of all, let's keep you safe. Now, if you can stay standing, that's fine. But it's literally you stop yourself in that moment and just very quickly take a deep breath, hold it for at least 3 seconds. And if you can let it out slowly, that's great. But if you can't, just let it out and then repeat that about 5 times. But I always say if you feel like you're about to pass out, try to sit somewhere. Doesn't matter if people are looking at you or anything because this is about you. If you're seated and it feels as if the room is spinning, you're getting sick to your stomach, you don't know what to do, again, at your desk, at the kitchen table, on your sofa, on your bed, in your car, pull over safely. You want to pull over, or even at a red light or stop light. You want to do something in that moment to just say, okay, I'm going to breathe. But if you're driving and you can't pull over, this tactic might sound weird, Willie, but it works. And I've done it, and clients have too. Sometimes you just got to let out a scream. You might not be able to breathe, but literally scream in that car, especially if you're by yourself. Let out the most guttural scream that you possibly can. Now have your windows rolled up. I know that this might sound comical, but we don't want people calling 911 on you. But I try to give practical things in the moment that can help. Is that maybe you can't scream, breathe. Maybe you just need to scream. So you scream it out. And just getting it off of you releases so much tension. So I hope that helps.
I like that. And you heard
Mhm.
it here first, everyone, is that if you can't take a breath in your car and you have a kid with you, it's okay to scream and
It
for them to
sure
freak out.
is. Yeah. Uh-huh. Hmm.
Oh, so
And
I
to Willie,
go ahead.
there is science behind it, but I'm not going to talk about that. That's
Sure.
my job as the coach. It's not their job to worry about it.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. I remember it was a year and a half ago.
Hmm.
I was at the aquarium in Utah, and they're starting to do this like whole big thing with the aquarium. I was in there, and we are walking to the big pool where they had the little the where they have the manta rays, where you get to like take the two fingers and
Yeah.
touch them and everything. There must have been a school trip or something, because there were buses out front, and like they were just kids all over. And I remember I was walking in there, had my girl on my shoulder, and as I walked in, I don't know if the principal or the parent or the teacher was just like, hey, everybody, time to now go to the sharks. But literally, all the kids just started like weaving in and out of me. And no joke, I have a audio processing disorder. And so
Hmm.
with that, if there's too much audio, it literally like paralyzes me until I for a few seconds till I can get back. So all the kids were doing, there was just so much stimulation and so much processing that I only could just stand there
Hmm.
frozen. And I
Yeah.
remember that I did two things. One was when that happened, I looked straight to my mom because she was there with us and I knew she knew what was going on.
Hmm.
Second thing was all I can do is breathe. Just
Yeah.
just wait till all those little rugrats are out of the out of the room so that
Yeah.
I can be able
Hmm.
to move again. But for just 7 seconds, stood there still, just breathe in, breathe out, looking at my mom, and then everything all of a sudden, all that overstimulation, over process, everything started to get back to
Yeah.
normal. I wasn't in any danger, nothing
Hmm.
happened. And then we're able to go throughout the rest of the exhibits and
Wow.
stuff. So
Wow.
it's true. I'm with you. How important it
Hmm.
is to do breath work. Now,
Hmm.
is there a system that you use? Like I know some people do like breathe in for three, hold for three, out for three, or some do like breathe in for six, wait 2 seconds, and then breathe out for 12. Do you
Yeah.
find one that's more effective, or is it just like let's breathe?
There are different systems, but that is tailored for when I'm working with a client, that is tailored and catered more to their needs. But in the immediate, just a general one, that's when I'll tell them to just breathe. But there are different types of breathing and breath work. But when a person's working more with me and they need that, then I'll know which way to go with them. So there's not one standard one for everybody. It's not necessarily one size fits all. I think for anybody, just that simple taking a deep breath in, holding it for 5 seconds works, and then exhaling on the 5 seconds works as well. And taking 2 minutes throughout your day at different increments to just take 2 minutes to just sit with yourself, be with yourself when it's so much chaos around. Because there is a stat, Willie, that says that eight and this is through research, 87% of entrepreneurs, founders, or CEOs, so anyone that's in leadership, my target audience, 87% of them find that at least twice a year they experience overwhelming anxiety, severe stress, immediate burnout. And they're looking for more people that do my work because they can't tell the people around them that this is what they need. And they're spiraling. 87%. That is the latest research as of the end of 2025. And it is a
Wow.
huge increase. Like it. It's increased since the pandemic and it's going up. It's not getting better. And then 50% of employees and workers say, actually it's 52%, want more trainings in their field and on their jobs with outside trainers coming in on how to implement this type of work even in their organization. Because let's put politics aside, let's put everything else aside. We all have a common thread of the human experience. And I personally think a lot of things have become distractions for us and that people are breaking down. It doesn't matter who is in office and who's not. This is a human thing happening just based on the trajectory of the world and how fast paced and how much pressure things are getting. There are societies in our world, Willie, that had much slower paces, were more chill and calm, cool and collected, where it's starting to flip now. And there's something with the frequency of the earth that is causing people to really start to spiral out of control. And they need those basic habits on how do I get through just life? How do I get through things professionally when my personal world is caving in? This is serious work. And I was even shocked at the research because I'm always looking up things, but to see how massively people are so distracted now and are hurting. And some can't even tell the people that they live with in their own households.
Yeah. It's like there's this persona that you
Hmm.
have to put up, or this I call it ego. It's your ego. It's I have built something because all of us founders, CEOs, entrepreneurs, the ones who are out there doing stuff, we are so capable,
Hmm.
so freaking capable with what we can do. And we can do it across a lot because those of us who started it from the beginning, we had
Hmm.
to do everything at the beginning to
Yeah.
start building it up. So we are so capable. But the mistakes that we made as a beginner, now that we are quote unquote successful and are making what we're doing,
Hmm.
we have to keep that appearance up. And that's hard for when we have to try something new or when we're going into a different field or implementing a new system,
Hmm.
because now it goes back to the beginner of, well, I'm going to make mistakes. There might be some failures, and I don't want either my family or my workers or the board of directors to think different of me.
Hmm.
So now I have to tiptoe carefully. And that's where analysis paralysis comes in. That's where burnout can come in. And man,
Hmm.
it's so, I can see it. I can see
Yeah.
how needed it is.
And think about even with that, behind the scenes, you know, say a man CEO could have something where he's getting, and I'm not trying to be vulgar or inappropriate, but he just goes for a simple bathroom break and he's experiencing pain and things that's not good. And now he's like, oh God, when am I going to have time to go to a doctor? And something can be happening to him physically, health wise, and he's carrying that on top of going into a boardroom and he doesn't know how to handle that. Or you have couples who are showing up at parties, events, galas, smiling, looking like the perfect couple. And behind the scenes, they might be okay, but have a child that's just totally off the rails, buck wild at home. They don't know how to rein them back in, and the kid's acting out because of all of the time they don't have with the parent. Or even something as simple as someone having an aging parent, not knowing, okay, what am I going to do with this parent? I love them, but I'm 500 miles away. That parent is so set in his or her ways, they don't want to move in with me, but yet they keep falling. Or even something as simple as we used to have regular date nights. Now I don't know what to do. Or I can't sleep anymore at night because my body's changing or just the stress. Everybody goes through something. Or here I am on paper, an eight-figure entrepreneur, but yet that person can say behind the scenes, they don't know that I have more debt than I do what's actually coming in, but I'm keeping up appearances. And I literally am getting sick to my stomach every night because I don't know what to do with this. That's the stuff people go through. And they keep up appearances. And it doesn't mean you have to put all of your business on Front Street. That's not what I'm saying. But what it does mean is that, yes, you may go to the therapist. I acknowledge that. But some people have gone through that. They might not need that in-depth support there. But how do you continue achieving, succeeding, mastering resiliency when everything around you is caving? And that's why I tell people with my story, don't feel sorry for me with my health, because we all go through something. What I've gone through might not look like what you've gone through. And when I speak on stages, virtually as well as in person, it's just not about making you feel good. This is lived experience because people are hurting. People are faking it. Not everybody, but a lot of people are. And they're caring so much and nobody's listening. They're crying out and no one sees them, no one hears them. And they absolutely don't know what to do because you're supposed to keep this certain image up. You're supposed to look a certain way, appear to be a certain way. And I know what it's like when your insides are shutting down. I know what it's like when you're literally told you only have X amount of time to live. But yet, Willie, I knew, no, my work is not over. I know what it's like to have the two best friends in the world that you thought you were going to have as your sisters until you grew old, and they get sick suddenly and they die. I know what it's like to have had wealth and to have lost it off of coaches, well, a coach who promised X, Y, and Z, and you make a big investment. You're not a real entrepreneur until you lose a lot of money in something. But I know what that's like to have to rebuild. I know what it's like to see parents that you once knew that were healthy and strong and vibrant and did things the way they were supposed to. And that's the whole thing about it, is that this isn't just work that I'm doing to make money from. Yes, I gotta make a living, but at the end of the day, this is deep soul work. This is purpose. This is calling. This is something higher than I am. The work you do, Willie, is higher than you. Even the title of your podcast alone. I mean, come on. Light beyond limits. And that's what people need to say, is that no matter how high achieving you are, there are things that people are toiling with and nagging with, and all of these distractions. Yes, keep up with what's happening in the world, but it's too many distractions clouding the vision that was put in us from the beginning, and we must execute the work. But we can't do that if we aren't well. Didn't mean to go off in that angle.
That was freaking amazing. I need like a the bomb dropping or like fire emojis like popping up on the video.
Lord, I didn't mean to do that.
That was
Whew.
so no, that was so
I
good.
mean
Thank
it
you.
though. Whew.
Man, thank you. Because people need to
Mm.
hear that. People needed to hear that.
People need it. People need it, Willie. And then we wonder why. It's a part of my story that I don't really talk about. I've talked about it a couple of times, but I remember in my early 20s, I had a broken engagement. Thankfully, I have a wonderful man now all these years later. But I had a broken engagement. And when it ended, the person then pretty much lied on me to really make himself look good. And he was the core reason why it didn't work out. I will admit when I'm wrong, and I would never say what happened, but it was something pretty serious that he was doing. And I remember just all of my name being scandalized. And I share this because I hit rock bottom, where there came a point, Willie, where I couldn't see the forest from the trees. And no matter how much faith I had, I didn't want to continue. And in that instant, when I was about to do something that I knew that I shouldn't have done, my sister just randomly called me and said, I had this inclination to call you. I was really, really, really young then. And she called me, and that's what stopped. And that's when I started even more of my healing journey. This was over 20 years ago. This was about 25 years ago now. So I say that because for somebody listening or watching, I know what it's like to not want to wake up in the morning. And you might be smiling with everybody else, but I'm telling you, you better hold on because it doesn't take a lot of people. You don't know what can happen in the next minute of your life that can change everything for the good. All things work together for good. And in the scripture, it says, for those who love the Lord and are called according to his purpose, there's purpose and plan for your life. And whether you share my faith or not, in this day and age, I tell people you better worship something, whether it's a table or a chair or something, because the weight of the world sometimes is too heavy to carry alone. But if we hold on another minute, and if you can get through that minute, then get through the next 5 minutes. And then you look at the clock and get through the next half hour, an hour. Before you know it, Willie, it's another day. And that's what people need to hear. Take one day at a time. Make plans, yes. But literally, sometimes all you can do in these human bodies is take one day at a time. And that's living beyond limits because when you let your light shine, there's people who need you. It could be the person that you see in a cafe that you simply open a door for. They may have needed that. We never know. It's the little interactions. It doesn't have to be anything massively grand, but you never know who might be on that brink, and something that you do or say could change their entire life just as it could yours. Hmm.
Oh, I freaking love that. And what a Alethea, I appreciate you being on here. For those who are listening that want to connect with you, how do they do that?
They can connect with me on all social media platforms. Well, okay, I won't say all. I'm on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Alethea Felton. I also have a website, www.aletheafelton.com. And I have a podcast, The Power Transformation Podcast. It's on all audio platforms. And that's a lot of fun too because Willie is going to be a guest soon on my podcast. And I'm excited
Woo-hoo.
about that. So that is how people may connect. And my email is coach@aletheafelton.com.
Awesome. And for you listeners, all of that will also be in the description. It'll be right there for you to click. Alethea, how we like to end this is with the final question.
Yes.
Now, this the one who I previously interviewed left you a question, and I love
Okay.
doing this. And I have it right here. You ready to answer it?
I am.
Okay. So they said, what's something you're secretly an expert in that has absolutely nothing to do with your career?
Oh, I like that. Uh, Tracing genealogy and family histories.
Ah, it's
Mhm.
really cool.
Yeah, I've been doing that since I was 12 years old. Started as a school project. And at the time, majority of the elders in my family were still alive. So I started with what I had, asked questions. I only have one great uncle who's alive now. He's 99. If he still lives in September, he'll be 100. But then my grandma, all her siblings, my great grandmother, everybody was alive. So I asked questions. and it became a hobby. And so I would literally, my parents let me literally call from Virginia to Utah, long distance, to get certain records and information. This was pre-internet. And then once familytree.com, I think, started, and then it later became Ancestry, got an account there. But I am a firm believer in knowing who you are. And I've helped people over the years build their trees and things of that nature. And I always say when I'm a little old lady in my 80s and 90s, but I'll still be fly and cute at that age, that's when I said I'll do another business of doing research for people. But yeah,
Oh, that's so cool. I love hearing that.
yeah.
Alethea, thank you for joining us today. And for you listeners, thank you for joining us. With that, wraps up this episode of Light Beyond Limits. If you found inspiration in the episode, go ahead and subscribe to the podcast. You can find us on your favorite podcasting platform. As well as you can go to my website, coachwillieblake.com, and there will be the links to the podcast, links to my socials, as well as everything else going in the Achievers universe. Until next time, my friends, continue to be a light in this world. Continue to be the best version of yourself. And always remember to take a breath and that you are not defined by the challenge that you have. We'll see you on the next episode of Light Beyond Limits.